why you're here and why it matters. Let me ask you something that might stop you in your tracks. Have you ever wondered why you were chosen for this particular battle? Not chosen in some whimsical cosmic lottery where life hands out participation trophies. No, I mean chosen in the rawest, most unfiltered way possible, the kind of choice that feels like chaos crashing into your world without warning or mercy. Think about it. Relationships with narcissists don't happen by accident. They aren't random encounters on the timeline of your existence. If you've been through one, or if you're still living through one, you didn't stumble into it because you were weak. You didn't cross paths with someone who only knows how to take because you failed at being strong enough, smart enough, or good enough. In fact, quite the opposite is true. You were placed there. Yes, placed. And today, we're going to explore exactly why. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why me? You might be asking yourself. Why did I have to endure the pain, the manipulation, the soul-crushing confusion? These are valid questions, ones that deserve answers far beyond the surface-level explanations people often throw around. But here's the thing. What if I told you there's a reason behind all of it, a truth so powerful, so life-altering, that once you hear it, you'll never look at your experience the same way again? This isn't just another self-help pep talk designed to make you feel better temporarily. This is deeper. This is about transformation. This is about understanding that every moment of heartbreak, betrayal, and emotional turmoil wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you, to rebuild you, to show you who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and self-doubt. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover will shock you. Not because it's outrageous or unbelievable, but because it cuts straight to the core of who you are and why you're here. By the time we're done, you won't just see your past differently, you'll start seeing your future clearly too. Because the journey doesn't end when the relationship does. It begins. And let me assure you, this isn't coming from me, Shi Heng Yi, out of thin air. This comes from years of studying human behavior, psychology, and the patterns that repeat across generations. Patterns that dictate how we love, how we heal, and ultimately, how we break free from cycles that no longer serve us. So stay with me. Keep watching. Because what you're about to learn has the power to change everything, not just for you, but for everyone whose lives you touch moving forward. The moment you stop seeing yourself clearly, there's a moment in life, a fleeting, almost imperceptible shift that changes everything. Maybe you missed it. Maybe you brushed it off as insignificant at the time. But looking back, you realize it was the beginning of the unraveling. The moment when you slowly started forgetting who you are. It doesn't happen overnight. Oh no, it's much more subtle than that. At first, it's small compromises, putting others' needs ahead of your own, shrinking yourself to keep the peace, ignoring the whispers of your intuition because they felt inconvenient or uncomfortable. Over time, these tiny acts of self-abandonment add up. They chip away at your confidence, your boundaries, your sense of worth. Before you even realize it, you've handed over pieces of yourself, your voice, your power, your authenticity to fit into someone else's mold. You convince yourself it's fine, that you're being nice, that this is what love looks like, but deep down you know better. Deep down you feel the erosion happening. Bit by bit you lose sight of who you are, and that's when they walk in. Narcissists don't choose their targets randomly. They don't pick people they can destroy simply for sport. No, they look for individuals who don't yet fully understand their own strength. People who haven't fully claimed their power. People like you. But let's clarify something important. This isn't about blaming yourself. Far from it. What makes you vulnerable to a narcissist isn't weakness, it's openness, it's generosity. It's your willingness to carry more than your fair share of emotional weight. These qualities are beautiful, admirable even. But when they're not balanced by self-respect, they become liabilities. And that's precisely what draws the narcissist in. The narcissist's role in your awakening. They see you long before you see them. Not because you're broken, but because you're ripe for growth. You're standing at the edge of a profound awakening, even if you don't recognize it yet. And while the narcissist enters your life under the guise of love, admiration, or fate, their real role is far greater and far more necessary. They're not here to complete you. They're not even here to destroy you, though it may feel that way. They're here to mirror everything inside you that still needs healing. Every wound you ignored, every insecurity you buried, every limit you accepted. The narcissist's presence in your life wasn't accidental. It wasn't cruel fate. It wasn't bad luck. It was purposeful. Think of them as a storm, an unpredictable, chaotic force sent to disrupt the calm surface of a life you were beginning to settle into, even if that life wasn't truly serving you. On the surface, storms seem destructive. They uproot trees, they flood streets, they rip apart the landscapes we've grown comfortable in. But look deeper. Beneath the destruction, storms also clear out dead wood. They nourish the parched earth. They make space for new, stronger roots to grow. That's exactly what the narcissist does. They shake the parts of your life you thought you could tolerate, the job you dread but stay in, the relationships that exhaust you but feel safe, the self-abandonment you've called being a good person. They don't whisper for you to wake up. They crash through your comfort zones. They tear down the walls you built to hide your own dissatisfaction. And as painful as it feels, as gut-wrenching as it is, it's necessary. Because without that storm, you might have stayed small. You might have kept saying, "It's not that bad." You might have kept betraying yourself for another year, another decade, another lifetime. The universe, life, God, your own higher self tried to send whispers. It tried to send signs. But you didn't move. You didn't listen. So it had to flip the whole damn table. It had to create a disruption so undeniable, so painful, that you had no choice but to look at your life and your role in it with brutal honesty. That's what the pain was. Not punishment. Pivot. A violent, necessary redirection. Especially when it comes to narcissistic relationships, you weren't placed in that dynamic because you were weak or defective. You weren't chosen because you were broken. You were there because there was something inside of you, a forgotten strength, a silenced voice, a buried power that had to be brought to the surface. Something you were never going to find while living safe, small, and silenced. The narcissist's chaos forced your shadow into the light. It exposed the people-pleasing that drained your soul, the fear of abandonment that kept you clinging to half-love, the habit of overgiving, of staying silent just to avoid conflict, of shrinking yourself to keep the peace. All of it was dragged into the open, raw, and undeniable. Why? Because you can't heal what you refuse to see, and you can't rise while still pretending you're okay staying small. When things fall apart, our first instinct is to ask, what did I do wrong? We internalize the wreckage as punishment, as proof that we're somehow cursed or broken beyond repair. But what if that wreckage isn't personal? What if it's precision? What if every heartbreak, betrayal, and collapse wasn't a punishment at all, but a realignment? Because here's the secret buried beneath the rubble. When life breaks you down to your knees, it's often because you've been standing in the wrong place for too long. The storm isn't here to end you. It's here to push you where you were always meant to go. The narcissist wasn't the lesson. The lesson was you realizing your own power. Realizing you never needed them to begin with. Realizing that what was broken wasn't you, it was the lies you believed about yourself. And now, with everything exposed, with nothing left to hide behind, you are free to build something real. Stronger, clearer, unbreakable. The narcissist's presence in your life forced your shadow into the light. All the people-pleasing, the fear of being alone, the habit of overgiving, the silence you kept to avoid conflict, it all came to the surface. Why? Because it needed to be seen before it could be healed, breaking the cycle for generations to come. Here's the final truth that will change your reality forever. You weren't born to be a victim. You were born to be a breaker, a chain breaker, a cycle disruptor, the one who stops generational trauma from continuing, the one who says, "Not with me, not anymore." And yes, it's unfair that this job landed on your shoulders. It's unfair that you had to experience betrayal, manipulation, gaslighting, and abandonment to realize your worth. But the truth is, you were chosen for this because you can handle it. You were placed in this dynamic not to lose yourself, but to find yourself. Not to suffer endlessly, but to become someone who refuses to settle for survival when they were made for more. When you reach that point when you stop waiting for apologies, stop hoping they'll change, and start reclaiming every part of yourself you once gave away out of fear, you step into your power. And that power is contagious. It ripples outward, affecting everyone around you. Your children, your friends, your community, they all benefit from the work you've done to heal yourself. Call to action, your next step toward freedom. If anything I've shared resonates with you, if you recognize parts of your story in what I've described, then I want you to do something right now. Pause for a second, take a deep breath, and ask yourself this question: what am I tolerating in my life that no longer serves me? Write it down. Say it out loud. Acknowledge it, because awareness is the first step toward change. Healing doesn't happen passively. It requires action. It demands courage. And I believe with every fiber of my being that you have both. If you're ready to dive deeper